What's up, guys? Welcome back to WakuRadio. Today we have our guest Donnie, aka Prime, back in the building. I highly recommend you watch the first episode that he was on because you might get kind of lost in this episode. But if you want to go ahead and watch it, please do. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and comment something below. Tell us what you liked about this video, what you didn't like about this video. Comment something. Please support us. And I just want to let you guys know that we've been dropping clips on our channel because I know not everybody has the time to watch a 2-hour podcast. So we've shortened some of our more popular segments just for you guys. So go ahead and check that out.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy too? Like animals, like freaking, you walk up to like dogs that would be barking or people that are like super upset.
Yeah.
Like in energy change, like when you walk to somebody, their energy matches your.
Yeah, for sure.
So like if you come in with a specific type of energy and they're upset, like it comes down, and then like I'll get technicians that'll call me and be like, "Oh, this lady's a bitch. She's fucking screaming at me."
Yeah.
I can hear her on the other phone.
Oh shit.
I'm like, I'm on my way. And I go over there, and then all of a sudden she's like hugging me and like, you know, tips me like $100. Like, I got nothing.
And your technician's like, "What are you doing to these?"
I started teaching them anchoring techniques to get more tips too.
So what is anchoring? What is this?
Anchoring is so it's a technique to put you into a specific energy field using memories that you had before. So like, let's say with tipping, I would tell my guys like, hey, think about that time when that person gave you the biggest tip ever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They gave you like a big survey saying you were the best person ever. Think about that time right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to draw a $sign in your right hand. Okay. Like that. Right. And I want you to hum a song that's going to remind you of that. Pick any song, something simple like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Mm-hmm. I would do the Angry Beavers theme song.
Okay.
And every time I would walk up to the door or like at the end when I'm doing my thing, I would hum that song when I was walking up. I would do that. And then they would give me a huge tip. Yeah. And I did this meeting with some of my guys, and I'm like, here, give it a shot. Some of the guys are like, it's some bullshit, you know. But I had like 2 or 3 guys that go, hey, I tried that. I got tipped at every job I was at.
Oh
like,
shit.
They were like, dude, like some people were giving me like $40, $100, like biggest tips I've ever got. They just kept doing it, and
that's crazy. So anchoring is basically like almost like a manifestation. It's like affirmation.
I actually got it from Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street. Right. I read his book, and he talks about anchoring with this thing called like boom tubes or boom. It's like this thing that you smell.
Oh, it's like the like kind of menthol-ish.
Yeah, and you smell like it. He's like, remember that thing? You know, I think he said like pinch like one of your fingers or something like that, gotcha. And then smell that tube, and then go in for the close. And he like ever since then I'm like, oh man, that shit might work. And I tried it, applied it to my line of business, right. And yeah, it worked pretty good.
That's crazy. I need to do that.
So it pretty much just brings up your energy levels to be in sync with that frequency, basically.
Yeah,
right.
It'll change your frequency to get you to that point when you were in that space, and then that space correlates over, energy matches, and then it feeds it back. The
pinching and then the menthol thing or like the nose stuff, it's pretty much like to like enforce that way of thinking, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it just you anchor that memory to that specific technique or whatever technique.
So kind of like how the movie Inception, right, where they had that little each Mandela thing, whatever they each had to show them it's like a reality or dream.
So like, he have the top.
Yeah, he had the top. So that's how you'll know if it's like real or if it's fiction, basically. So he puts them in that mindset almost in a way, right?
Yeah, well, that's more to. I think that was more to do with dreamscaping, like dream walking and remembering. You know, because if you
it's like a totem, right?
Yeah, if you take to like thinking like, say this is a simulation or something like that, and you can't remember, you can't stay grounded, it's going to be hard to get out of that space.
So it's like the cousin of that.
I actually had to go back and watch that movie after learning everything that I've learned. I have to go. They watch different. Like music listens different. Like there's certain things that like, dang, is that what he was talking about? You know?
Oh, like in the movie.
Is that what this was about?
Yeah, you have to watch that movie like a fucking ton of times to really understand.
I could have watched it a million times. If I don't know what I know now, I wouldn't understand what the heck they were. I mean, it would have just been a movie. But now going back to it is just like, oh man, that makes a ton of sense. I think that happens a lot too with a lot of like Hollywood just drip feeding us. Yeah. You know, these techniques.
That makes sense.
I know you mentioned some of that in the chat when we were talking about it, but like Marvel and Disney, like dropping little hints and subtle like, things like that.
Have you guys been noticing that? Like
I noticed it in like when it comes to like Doctor Strange and like some of the stuff when they start talking like different dimensions and quantums and all that stuff.
Yeah, the like, well, especially with that one, you know, multiverse.
Yeah.
All the multiverse stuff. Quantum, like Ant-Man, that's talking about quantum. Like if time is gone, like that's what you end up with. But I was like thinking about like when I was talking to you guys about the ancient aliens and stuff like that, the Eternals, that's all based off of that.
Yeah.
And then if you watch the new Guardians of the Galaxy, that genetic modification stuff, that was all from that Enuma Elish.
Oh, I see.
They did break that down. I saw a video where they were breaking it down. Where
I was like, what the heck? Like watching it, I was like, oh man, the high evolutionary.
Like how the raccoon, how he starts to talk and stuff like that. It was the higher evolution that enforced it to evolve or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that whole story, that whole ancient alien story was based on, the creation story. And I was like, man, Marvel just straight stole that.
The movie Eternal, I've heard, you know, guarding
the Eternals is a straight ripoff. They have Gilgamesh,
right?
You know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest stories ever told. You know, they have you know, all the things with Mercury. What's her name? Mercury. The girl is fat like the Flash.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. There's a ton of stuff that goes on with that. And then I rewatched Gods of Egypt.
I've never seen that one. No. What is that? Is that like a documentary?
No, it's a movie. It's like the dude from Game of Thrones. And then it has I think Gerard Butler?
Oh, that's right.
But it's all the gods of Egypt. And then one specific one that, I mean, like we were talking about The Secret earlier. At the beginning of The Secret, they have the thing called the As Above, So Below. That's from the Emerald Tablet. Emerald Tablet was written by Thoth.
Okay.
Thoth was in that movie. Oh. And then as I go back, I start seeing like he's popping up in all these different. Oh, it's Chadwick Boseman plays him in that movie.
Oh, damn.
It's crazy.
That's wild.
That dude's been popping up like in a whole bunch of movies.
Yeah, dude.
But I go back.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's so weird like how you see so many different actors in Hollywood that fit into a specific type of movie genre. You know what I'm saying? It's like they believe it. Like Jim Carrey, he's one of those that are like really up there with esoteric beliefs and shit. It's insane.
But he never pops up in any of that stuff. I don't see it. I mean, I see him talking about it, but I don't see him like portraying it in movies. I feel like Chadwick Boseman kind of did it undercover. And I didn't start realizing it until after he's already.
Oh, I see.
He's already gone.
Well, I mean, he was in that one movie where it was like that dome.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what.
Where he was like everything he did was controlled and he didn't realize it. He was
the Truman Show.
Yeah, Truman Show.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
Yeah. But that was like the only one that he was like really into it. Maybe like even when he was playing God in slipping,
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty. Yeah, there you go. I think that was also another. I mean, it is kind of relatable to the topic.
But he's deep.
Yeah,
like
he's deep.
But like I was saying, with some of the hard part is remaining grounded while you're still studying, while you're still learning everything. Because some people go off the deep end.
Yeah,
like they can't control it. They can't understand it to the point where, you know, it drives them nuts.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like if you do LSD or DMT too much or shrooms, and then you just kind of lose yourself.
Yeah,
there's like, you know, like the tripping for the sake of good and like, you know, finding traumas and identifying those things, and then there's like just getting lost.
I feel like I see this a lot now with Kanye West. So Kanye West, I feel like he started to learn it, he started to know it, he started to dive deeper, and then now everybody thinks he's crazy. Yeah, just because he had the inability to remain grounded.
I think it's one of those things that people have to like realize, like even though like you can start dabbling into like different dimensions, like your spirit and all that stuff, but you still got to realize that your physical body is still in the third dimension.
Yeah, there's still a reality.
Yeah, so there's still like that thing that even though you want to like do like, you know, there's like spiritual healing, all this stuff. Yes, it's like all possible and it does work and whatever, but at the same time, like your body's still in the third dimension. There's only so much this third dimension your body can do, right?
Well, if you limit yourself to that, but if you go around and telling a bunch of people that you can do that, people are gonna think you're nuts because of you know, you have, you know, programming for this specific dimension. So like let's say you do have unlimited power. Yeah. Well, you do have unlimited power, and you go around telling everybody you have unlimited power, and you don't remain grounded in that. You're calling yourself a god. You're doing all this stuff. People are gonna be like, "This guy's fucking nuts." Yeah, that makes sense. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, if you have the ability to kind of like walk both sides. You know what I mean? That's where the true power comes from.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're like you're kind of like playing both sides. Like you're kind of like a spy in a sense.
Like I understand how this world works, and I understand how that world works, and I have the ability to control both.
Right, and then you
what I mean?
basically only speak on it when it's time to speak on it.
Yeah, one of the quotes from Toth was that it'll come to you when you're ready.
Right.
So in some religions, people go out there, they preach it, they push it on you, and they do a bunch of stuff like that. With what I'm learning, it's more of like when you're ready, it'll show up at your front door.
Yeah, it's like you're ready for the enlightenment of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you can't just go like drop. Like I can't just walk up to somebody on the street and push this on them.
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
you're fucking weirdo.
like, this dude's a fucking crackhead.
But I trust the universe, and the universe brings me those people when I need to talk to them.
Yeah, because everyone's on their like specific timeline that they have to learn certain lessons to get to a certain point, and not everyone's at that point where you're at or someone else is at. So like you go to someone random and be like, hey, blah blah, and they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? They're not like
you get the Agent Smith.
I want almost exactly like they're NPCs basically, like background characters, right?
Yeah, you get that Agent Smith where you're just like completely washed out.
They're like too much into the reality, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, dealing in a materialistic world, egotistic world, people believe that this body is them. Certain religions say that is.
Right.
This is your one life to live.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So like my question is like, because I always feel like I'm always for the extreme. So I always feel like I'm either in the reality world of like take the blue pill era, right? Like before Neo enters the Matrix, and then after when I start to dive into it too deep again, then I feel like I've taken the full red pill and I'm like fully immersed into it. So how do you deal with like the balance of like both?
That's the power. So like I said, some people cannot maintain both.
Right.
You're either one side or the other.
Right.
I think of it like a Mace Windu. Like I'm red and blue. You know what I mean? I can walk both lines. Sith and Jedi.
Just staying balanced.
You just stay in balance, maintaining that, and then understanding that, hey, this isn't for everybody.
Right.
Only certain people have been gifted with the divine spark, and until their divine spark ignites, they're not going to understand what the hell I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, or they're going to be trapped in the programming, and they can't get past that. When they have that divine spark, everything starts to open up for them. They'll start to notice it. They'll start to ask those questions, and the universe will either take me to them or them to me.
Right. Okay. So I've seen like in my experience, I've seen like it open up and then you're in that world, right? And then next to like you're using it to manifest all these things for the reality of your life, like whether it's to earn more money, to whatever, to embed your life in some way. But then the reality starts to kick in, like, hey, this is the moment where I actually need to put effort into it, and then you kind of get lost or like steer away from that. Like I don't think it's like totally a bad thing for you to do that, but there's always like, I think if you forget about it completely and you just live in the reality, then that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, there's no good or bad.
Right. So that's true.
When it's time, it's time.
Yeah,
It'll happen. So time is an illusion. So you're living, billions of timelines all at the same time. We all come from the same, place. Right.
Right.
So we're doing these billions of timelines all at the same time. It's happening somewhere. So energy and frequency, the amount of energy you have, the amount of frequency you put on your vibration can move you to that timeline. It's not like a portal shift or something like that. It's just, think of it like a radio station. You know what I mean? If you wanted to listen to rap music and you turn that dial till you get to the rap music station, then you're there. You're the transmitter and receiver.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's
So it's almost like when you're listening to a radio station, you're driving and all of a sudden it loses reception and it starts getting all fuzzy and stuff, and you get back to an area where like it connects to it and you can hear it again, like clearly, almost in a way.
Yeah. So you have full control over that.
Yeah.
With your thought, with your energy. Your thought will put you into that frequency. Now, words are thoughts. Words have power. Think of them like spells or something like that. Anything you say will put you into that frequency.
Right.
Now, if you're telling yourself, oh man, I'm gonna have a fucked up day today, I hope this deal goes through, it might not go through, and you start putting all this negative frequency, your energy will match that frequency and it'll take you to that place.
Right.
If you control those, you watch those thoughts. I do this thing called cancel, because it's gonna come up no matter what.
Right.
Your mind, body, and spirit complex are all separated.
Right.
So your body's trying to stay alive. Your mind is trying to keep your body alive. Your spirit already knows everything. So if you keep having, your mind keeps giving you those thoughts to try and keep your body alive, your body's going to transmit that, and your frequency is going to go down that path.
Right. So in the book, The Secret, she actually talks about how there's a time delay when it comes to manifestation. So what it does is it actually benefits the fact of like negative thoughts and things that like do happen. So in your case, you're canceling those negative thoughts right away.
Yeah, this is just the thought about being mindful of them.
Right.
So if I have that negative thought, because they come, I'll be like, oh man, what if I'm driving to your house and I have a car accident? That's a negative thought that I do not want to happen.
Right.
But I just put that into the universe because I thought it. Right. So I do this thing called cancel.
Right.
Cancel, control, alt, delete. You know, you can
Yeah.
all that matters is you caught it, you deleted it before you threw it out there.
Gotcha.
It came out. You were mindful of it, you stopped it.
Gotcha.
And then you want to change those thoughts to positive, or things that are positive in your direction, or what you want to happen, or what you're mindful of. Some people want that stuff to happen.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, some people are just so stuck in the negative that it is what it is.
And when you're in the negative, it just gets more negative. The secret actually tells you that.
Yes.
Like the more you build, the more it gives you.
Yeah, it's like a multiplier. Like it's like a snowballing effect to where,
like I said, there is no good and evil. There's no good or bad. It's the thoughts are the thoughts. You put them out there. That's what you're going to see.
Right.
If that's what you ask for, your wish is my command.
Yeah.
I think that's what they say in there.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to accept the reality of like there is no good and bad when we when we live in the program world, and it's like there is good and bad. There's like positive and negatives, I guess, right? Polarity.
Well, when I was looking at it, I actually came across something and said there's a reason why we perceive those kind of things like negative and positive, because the more like the negative that we perceive gives more light to the positive. So it's like if you use the negative to just consume yourself instead of like using the negative like, oh, now I see more positive out of that negative, things can go the wrong way,
right.
But then the wrong way takes you to the positive way to make it more happier, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
It's like how you perceive it in a way.
It's almost like it's a way for you to show value to those things that mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like it shows you the down times and the what could possibly potential, so you're more grateful for when the positive times come in, if that makes sense.
But what if I told you could have controlled that entire thing the entire time?
Yeah, but then you don't know that until you learn that.
Yeah, until you learn that.
Yeah.
Like if I told you that now, like, hey, you had full control over this the entire time. That was the experience that you wanted to experience this time around. You know what I mean? If you wanted to suffer hardship at the beginning, so that way you can feel the victory of winning. You're playing on hard mode.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more exciting. Like if you play it on easy mode, it's not as much fun, right?
Yeah.
So like if you play it on hard mode, by the time you get to the end, now you feel a little bit more accomplished. You had that experience, and that's really what we're shooting for, is experience points.
Makes sense.
We're all part of that same collective consciousness. We're just coming down for experience.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like with people that live like, there's people that live harder lives than others, but they chose that so they can learn more lessons out of it.
Correct.
And it's up to them to decide if they're going to make that into a positive thing in the future, or, if it's going to keep them down.
Or they can live in that they can live their entire life that way. That was the idea that, that's what they wanted to experience. Now they talk about like a karmic loop, like where you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, until you reach like an enlightenment where you understand that. Then you don't have no control over it. You're just going by whatever your subconscious programming.
That was like the discussion of like heaven and hell, where if you go to hell, you're basically living in that loop of like reliving your life over and over and over again until you figured it out.
Some people believe that Earth is hell.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I believe that.
This is that karmic loop where you're going through over and over.
Right.
And over.
I'm 100% a believer that Earth can either be your heaven or your hell, and it's really up to you. That's why I wanted to, like, when we were discussing the whole negative aspects of like sexuality and stuff like that, I did read into how if you live your life only in the lower chakras, that basically it becomes a sexualized loop. And if you don't use all of your chakras and you don't have it all balanced, you basically are living in your own hell.
Yeah.
So like it's like a hedonistic state of like just thinking about sex, and it becomes empty and lonely.
That's almost second dimensional. Really low third density,
right?
Thinking,
right?
Until you get to the higher third or fourth,
right,
or fifth.
Well, they always say about like you have to balance all of your chakras in order to have the enlightenment. But I think like in this dimension, so many people are living in that reality.
Some of them go unused. I mean, even up to your third eye. It took me a while to I was actually focused on I am going to open my third eye. That's what I'm going to do. And then I realized once I got to that point, and then I started focusing on crown. And that's when I started to receive the information that I needed.
Okay, I think we're skipping ahead a lot. Could you explain exactly what the third eye is, just for the people who don't know what the third eye is? Because we're like, I'm like thinking about like all the viewers, and they're probably fucking lost. Like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
So you have chakras.
Right.
You know, you have your sacral. When it goes up, you have where am I missing? So red. Let's see, solar plexus, throat, green. Third eye would be blue, and then crown would be purple,
Right.
and higher, or indigo. But you want to align your power through the center. Some people live, like you were saying, in your lower chakras, mainly just sexual, you know, hedonistic types of things. You can live that way. I mean, if that's the way you decide to live, that's the way you decide to live. It's your life to experience.
Right.
But as you start to open those up, you start to get, you know, your solar plexus, your heart chakra, your throat, you're able to speak, you know, and then when you get to your third eye, which is, some people believe it's your pineal gland. That's where like the DMT, all that stuff comes from.
Right.
That's when you start to be able to visualize. That's when you start to be able to manifest. That's when you start to be able to see without your senses. So when I do my meditations, I usually want to shut off all my physical senses. So I wear eye cover, like eye block to dark out. I wear noise canceling headphones.
Right.
You know, I turn on some frequencies. I'm in a place where there's no smells, no touch, no nothing. I hold crystals in my hand so I can't move my hands. And I just want to shut all those physical senses off. And then I focus on that third eye. That third eye will give me the visualization that I need. If you think of it like make believe or imagination, so that's what the programming wants you to believe it is. It's an imagination. You're making it up in your head.
Right.
But that's where most of your power comes from.
Right.
Being able to visualize. If you're able to visualize, you're able to manifest. If you're able to visualize, you can see different outcomes. You can see past lives. You can see all that stuff.
Right.
And once you get to that space, that's when you start to get to your crown. When you get to your third eye and your crown, then you're talking to your higher self. Your higher self has full control, seeing every possible outcome that happens and knows what's going to happen. And you can actually ask them the questions that you need to know. What do I do here? What's this? That's where you think that like God is at, because your higher self is in a higher dimensional state. They're a little bit closer to the collective consciousness, and they'll take you there. Their job is to get you there.
Interesting. Yeah, I was watching this video earlier. Actually, I watched it a couple days ago, but they were talking about how the body is basically a breakdown of energy, and that like the whole belief of Jesus and all those things, like Santa Claus, it comes from the claustrum, which is like in the center of your brain. And basically our body is just like, it's oils that are being pushed in and out of our spine and basically going to different parts of our body in order to give us like this feeling of, you know, enlightenment in a form.
Yeah.
But the problem is like so many people on certain days, I don't know how much I can go into this because I don't really know much about it, but apparently if you have sex or you indulge on specific days and you're not able to get that sunlight into the certain parts of your spine, because I don't understand it completely, but it's almost like the rest of your 30 days aren't going to be that great. You're not going to have like an enlightenment. You're actually going to be in a darker end of your enlightenment.
I started focusing, like when you were talking about aligning your chakras, I started focusing on Kundalini.
Okay.
Kundalini is getting those chakras are like whirlpools.
Right.
So when I do my visualizations, I focus on each one of those chakras.
Okay.
I take prana energy, which is white light. Once I was able to get to my third eye and visualize the white light, I can accept it from the crown. I take that white light and I supercharge it. So I just I'm visualizing that chakra as.
Is it almost like a mana? Is that mana?
It's prana, which is just white light energy. So that's like, think of it like the entire collective consciousness.
Okay.
The God, the all.
Right.
You know,
okay.
We all come from this white light. That's all energy. It's pure energy.
Gotcha.
And I can take as much as I need. I bring it in, and then I get that chakra spinning, and then I go all the way up to charging each one, like it's a cell phone almost.
Right.
Plug it in, let it charge up, get it spinning, go all the way to the top until I'm completely like centered.
Wow.
Everything's spinning, everything's moving. My vibration gets higher and higher and higher as I do it. And then that leads me to the point where, I can manifest those things like sex magic, stuff like that, stuff that where you can use those energy releases, like you were talking about sexually, to actually supercharge your manifestation.
Okay. Gotcha. And is that only specific per chakra? Like you either supercharge all of it or you supercharge
No,
one?
you can do it as, I mean, if you're able to visualize that while you're releasing it, because it's energy release.
Right.
So if you're able to visualize that while you're doing it, it just supercharges that manifestation. So like, let's say next time you're with your girl,
Right.
And you talk, because it's masculine and feminine.
Right.
So if she has feminine energy, you have masculine energy. It's going to supercharge your manifestation.
Okay.
Feminine energy is really good at making manifestations big, huge, a lot, abundant. They're not very good at aiming it. Masculine energy is really good at aiming that. Directional. Where's it going? You know, is it going towards my mansion? Is it going towards my Lamborghini? What are you aiming that energy towards? And then when you take a masculine and a feminine energy, then you put them together at the same manifestation with the energy released that large, then it supercharges your manifestation.
In a sense, right? I'm taking this back down to reality right now. So in a sense, man and woman need each other. And if they were to create...
Well, they don't. I mean, everybody has a masculine and a feminine side.
Right.
That's what you're seeing with gender. Some people feel like they're women. Some people feel like they're man. Even biologically,
Right.
you know, they might not be, you know. But masculine and feminine, you need both sides.
Right.
Now, you can get to the point where you have both masculine and feminine energy, and then you'll be a master manifester. A cheat code would be to get a feminine energy and your masculine energy together and do it at the same time. It's just like jumping to the front of the line.
Right. So you're saying in a form of like man and woman getting together.
Not biologically, but like gender wise, you have both.
Okay.
So gender wise, you have both masculine and feminine energy. Now, in this density, you might be more, let's say you're a man, but you're more feminine.
Okay.
Right? Now you have a feminine energy, even though I'm not talking about biologically, you have feminine energy, right?
Right.
So it makes it feel like, okay, maybe I should have been a woman. Right? Now you have the ability to build up your masculine energy to match the feminine energy that you already have, or you can use that to match with somebody that already has that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So if let's say you're a feminine man and you're with a masculine woman, it's the same match. Right. The energy is energy.
Yeah, I see myself as a very masculine man, and then my girl is extremely feminine. So I think we balance each other.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for, is that twin flame, the match to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to talk about. Like, just if the two came together and we were to target, you know, at our goal or whatever it is, it'd be very powerful in order to...
Yeah, way faster than you doing it by yourself.
Right.
Let's say you're manifesting by yourself. You can, let's say you're manifesting, hey, I'm going to win the lottery, right? And you're doing it by yourself and you have very high masculine energy. You win the lottery, but it might be like $2-3, right? She's like, I'm going to win the lottery. She might win $1 million, but it might be 60 years down the line.
Because she's not acting.
She's not able to accurately hit it. Now, if both of you guys do it at the same time, you might win it next week.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just about using the masculine and the feminine energy to be able to reach that top end.
Wow.
Just matching them together. That makes you guys both more powerful.
You're blown, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty blown. So I want to go back to sex magic real quick, because I dabbled a little bit into it, and I've been hearing it's like pretty powerful if you know how to use it properly.
Wait, is sex magic tantra related?
I use it mainly for what we were just talking about. I'm using that energy as a release. Now you can release it to whatever you need it to go to. But it's just about focusing your intent while you're having that release. You know, because it's a major energy release.
Yeah, because from what I was looking up, it was because like when you get that urge, it's like it's strong urge. It's just very strong energy, and if you can direct that energy towards like a goal or something while you're releasing it, it's like almost like amplifying your manifestation powers.
Yeah, it's huge. Like it's one of the biggest energy releases you can have, and being able to direct it with intention at the same time will make manifestation supercharged.
So now this is the part where I'm getting kind of a little confused with it. Is it like while the process, like for example, if you're having sex or whatever, you're thinking about the visualization of your end goal while you're doing it, or are you
during orgasm?
During orgasm. Okay. So it's during orgasm.
Yeah. So that's when the biggest release occurs. Now you can focus it during it. I mean, you're still releasing energy, but you notice when that happens, you have a major energy release. Yeah. Right. Now
so you can almost use, like, say, the buildup of having sex to build up that energy even more, right? And then when you're coming to the release, then you're just fucking like
focused,
kamehamehaing that shit almost. No way, right?
Okay. Yeah, you're just focusing that intention at that specific time. I mean, do it at the same. Write it down before. Like, talk to your girl beforehand. Like, hey, what do we want? You know, what do you want to happen this time? You know, write it all down, and then and then release it. And then once you release that into the frequency, you'll find it fast. The universe will bring it back faster.
So can you do this with like masturbation?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Any release. That's a major energy release. So remember I was saying masculine and feminine, but it's still an energy release. So if you're focusing on that at the same time, you can still hit it.
Like, I want a Bugatti. I want a Bugatti. This fucking Bugatti.
Exactly.
So the other thing I want to relate to that. So like, for example, like, you know, like say you abstain from having the release for about like 2-3 weeks. Does that energy build up too as that? Or
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, you can,
so like say
if you say it matters.
Yeah. Cause like,
it's gonna matter.
Like for example, it's like almost like supercharging. Like, all right, I'm not going to have release for 3 weeks. And then throughout that 3 weeks, you're just like building up that energy and that arousal, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, now I'm going to release. And it's like, boom, like super spirit bomb.
I feel like it's
like semen retentions you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you might have a huge energy release, but I'm not sure if it's any different than
to make it like more
times in one day.
Hey man, if he thinks it, he believes it.
Yeah, whatever you're putting out there in the universe is what it'll be.
Yeah.
I think you supercharge it. Yeah. I think it's like you're like just kind of like, oh man,
I want it
for
now.
like weeks though. And then just
He's like, no, because my wife hears this, I'm not gonna have sex every week.
Well, the only reason I say that, I feel like for me, I feel like the longer I abstain from releasing, the more stronger I'm able to manifest things.
Well, if you believe that, then it's true.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
If you believe that is true, that's the programming that you have right now.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't believe that, and it'd still be true. It just depends on what you believe and what you're putting out there.
That makes sense. Because there's no actual programming when it comes to spirituality and energy, really, right? It's basically how you intend it to be.
The programming is literal. Think of it like an AI. Like you know, when you prompt it, whatever you tell it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So if you're prompting it, I got to wait 2 months to get this released, then
right,
your wish is my command.
Now, okay. Speaking on AI prompts, right? I noticed that AI will kick back different results based on how you prompt it. So, is there something that, like, let's say, if you were to ask, you know, the highest power in a different form, if you're more specific or you're more detailed, is that a better outcome?
Can you see it?
Yes.
So if you can see it, you can live in that frequency. You can find that vibration. You know what it feels like. You're thankful for it. Manifestation will happen way faster.
Absolutely.
Rather than you look at a vision board with one picture on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, hopefully that's hopefully you're going to keep hoping.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're asking for is hope. You know, you're not asking for now. You know, if you're visualizing it, can you visualize yourself driving that Bugatti?
Yeah.
What does the leather feel like?
Oh, so amazing. Smells good.
Smells good.
Yeah.
Brand new car scent.
Andrew Tate's sitting right next to me.
What does the engine sound like when you turn it on?
It's fucking
What does the key look like? What does it feel like in your hand?
Oh, it's so amazing.
Now your manifestation is supercharging, right? You know what it's like. Now thank yourself. Thank you for this Bugatti that I just got. You know, now you're in full, you've pretty much gave the entire prompt. You gave you see everything about that. It's parked in your 19 car garage.
Yeah, I can see
next to your Ferrari.
The type of tires that I'll have, the type of rims, the road that I'm driving on, the color that it is, the gas smell that it's burning.
That's the visualization that you need in order to maximize that manifestation.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Now you feel it. It's there. The frequency's there. You know what the frequency's on.
Right.
You told the universe what you wanted and it delivers.
Right. So I was watching this video earlier about Oprah, and she was talking about how manifestation doesn't necessarily work. Like, manifestation and affirmation doesn't work unless you're within that frequency and vibration. So how do you know when you're in that frequency or vibration?
Ask yourself if you're in that frequency and vibration.
You'll feel it?
No, I mean, if you're there, you're there. If you feel like you're not, then you're not.
God.
You're not there. Yeah. If you doubt if there's any doubt, it's not about having a belief. It's about having a knowing.
It's almost like an intuitive feeling, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You got to have a knowing. If you know beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Like right now, I'm extremely like in the vibration right now. I can feel it. I know I'm in it 100%. But earlier this morning when I was doing my affirmations, I was like, oh, I don't know, man.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Affirmations will not work if you have doubt.
Right.
Because you're putting doubt into the universe, and it'll give you doubt, and it'll give you what you asked for, which is no Bugatti. right?
No, I'm manifesting that Bugatti right now, baby. I'm manifesting a lot of shit right now, dude.
It's probably even better for you to set it and forget it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. The bigger the manifestation, the bigger your vision is. In a way, it does take a little bit more longer for it to gather the resources in a way, right?
If you believe it does. I mean, even in The Secret, they talk about it. It costs the same amount to manifest $1 as it does $1 million.
That's right. They did say that.
So if you're focusing on the how, that's not your job. Your job is to focus on the what.
Yeah.
The universe does the how. If you start focusing on the how, then you start thinking about doubt. How do I do this? How do I get to there? How do I do that?
But also, you have to stay in frequency because you will miss the opportunity if the opportunity shows and you don't grab it.
If the opportunity shows, you're going to know and you're going to take it. And because that's what you've been waiting for. I mean, like I said, I accept all blessings, whatever comes in.
But I would believe that to be true, but I think there would be so many more successful people in this world. But I see that, there's all these girls out there that are saying they're all about stones and certain things and like that, but they don't operate within the frequency. It's almost like a hype for them. So, you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely an opportunity when it comes knocking at your door. There is a moment where you either turn off from that frequency and you choose the wrong path, or you grab it and you take it and you run with it. Because I think it would be evident to see there's so much more successful people if they really took those opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it could be something simple though, that like you might not know it's the opportunity. Maybe it's maybe Bass hit you up and he was like, hey, can you go pick up some beer before you go to the thing, before you go to the podcast? And you're like, I don't got time for it right now. Now that was the time that if you would have went to the store, they were doing a contest over there to give away a free Bugatti, and you were going to be the 1 millionth customer, and you were going to win it.
Right.
Now, did you know that was the opportunity?
No.
But
that's what I'm saying. And like sometimes we make the bad decision, or we think it's a good decision.
Stop focusing on the how.
Right.
So if you're focusing on the how, you're doing somebody else's job. The how is the universe's job. It's not your job to focus on the how. You lay the prompt down and let the computer do the work.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah.
So lay the prompt down, the computer do the work. It's going to show up at your door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you start focusing on, man, if I would have only, took this business venture and then did this and did that, I would have it already. That's you focusing on the how, right? The opportunities will be there. They're going to come. You're going to know they're there, and you're going to take them, and it's going to lead you to where you're supposed to go. The universe will move different things around based off of the prompt to eventually fall directly into your lap, because that's what the prompt was.
Hold up. Hey, all my niggas who be thinking we soft, we don't.
That shit on minute.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
I'm the only one dropping bombs on you guys?
Yeah. Always. That's why we love you, dog.
So going to aligning yourself with your highest best version, like like the multiverse and stuff like that, right? It's all about frequency too, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Everything is energy and vibration.
Because like how you're saying with like multi universes going on at the same time, like there is a version of you getting that shit right now.
Correct.
But then you're just not aligned with that version of yourself that's getting it right now, correct? Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. It's happening right now. There's a universe where that Bugatti pulls up right in front, and the guy's like, man, I got to leave the country. Here's the title. Here's the Bugatti. I'm out of here. That exists somewhere.
Yeah. That's in Saudi Arabia.
That exists somewhere.
That's in Saudi Arabia 100%. They just be dumping shit on the side.
All we are, don't think of yourself as a physical, right? I mean, we're skin bags and your energy, your vibration and frequency. So the atom, everything in your hand, it forms itself to look like a hand, right? That's you manifesting your physical body. Now those vibrations can change. Your vibration is frequency. So think of it like megahertz, or, like if you turn the dial on the radio, that's you changing your frequency. Now, all those things exist right now, and you just tune to it. Just turn that knob. And the way you turn that knob, affirmation and manifestation, visualization, that's how you give it the prompt.
Yeah, so like the one thing with vibration and frequency, all that stuff, like when we look at our hands and our physical objects, like we just see that physical object, but if you break it down to a molecular size, it's just atoms moving around.
Yeah, they're just moving around at a certain speed.
We're all technically vibrating in one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's like when people say, like, oh, you got to tune into that frequency, it's just literally that feeling, right?
Just that, yeah. Don't think about it like you have to know what the specific frequency is. Like it's 953,000 megahertz.
Yeah.
That's the one you need to be on.
But scientifically, there is frequency that helps you focus more, for sure.
Correct. Yeah, that's where you get like stones. You get solfeggio.
Binaural beats.
Hemi syncs. You get all those. All those are frequencies.
Even like the frequencies in music.
Correct.
Yeah, for mind control.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just more programming. More programming for you to stay in a specific frequency. Now you can control that frequency just by, your brain already, your spirit already knows what the frequency is, because it can see the entire landscape, right? It can see every path that you have. Now you just tune into that and be like, how do I get to this? Move me over here. That's all it takes. You don't got to overthink it. You just got to tell yourself to move over there.
You know what's crazy? Thinking about this now, this is kind of off topic, but I was watching the Titans on HBO Max.
Oh, the DC show?
Yeah, the DC show, like the adult version of it. But so there's an episode in the most like recent one, or like the week before. Anyway, so they get stuck in this other dimension where they're basically being brainwashed and being controlled. So every time the radio kicked on, they would just start slowly forgetting who they were and just fall into that programming of this other dimension. And it was insane because, like, literally, that's just binaural beats, just like fucking sucking them back into that frequency. And then someone had to destroy the radio station on the other dimension in order to get them all back into the sync with everything. I was just like, dude, a lot of these TV shows be throwing some shit at you and you don't fucking catch it right away.
No, yeah, it just drips in on you.
Yeah.
And do you think there's something going on where like the culture is actually trying to bring down everyone's vibration? Because like Kobe and I were talking about, and we noticed a lot lately in music, there's been a lot of like Satanism and like, devils and shit like that. They're more dark. Even their costumes and stuff is more dark and stuff like that. You think in a way that's like they're trying to like prevent everyone from increasing their vibrations and stuff like that. And especially with like social media and stuff, because you said like our imagination's what allows us to, materialize our things, right? Correct?
Yeah. I call it visualization, but they want you to think it's imagination. When you think of imagination, you think of make believe, right?
SpongeBob.
Yeah. Imagination.
Right.
This is just some shit you made up. Right? That's designed to make you feel crazy. So if you don't tap into that, you'll never reach where you need to go.
Well, that's what I'm saying with like social media. They're like you almost don't have time to be bored, like, because you're always looking for the next dopamine drop or whatever, and you're scrolling up and whatever, and then like it doesn't give you that time to be like sit down, like just be bored and then start imagining stuff. Well,
I think you might have just answered your own question. The fact of like that we're hooked onto dopamine is what's like is the problem with society. You know what I mean? Because that mental addiction of like, okay, we're addicted to dopamine and we're not looking at the other things that matter in our lives, right? Like frequency and growth and stuff.
It's more of a distraction. Now, like if you like you were just talking about like Satanism and a bunch of other stuff like that. With Hermetics, there's no good and evil.
What is Hermetics?
It's Hermeticism. So it's like ancient. It's more of an ancient religion. I was talking to you earlier about Thoth, right? Thoth is the ancient Egyptian priest king. Some people thought he was a god of wisdom and scribe. He's the one that kept track of everything.
Okay.
Now this man lived for thousands of years. He was with the Mesopotamians in Babylon. He was also with the Greeks. He was Hermes Trismegistus.
Okay.
He has all these different names, and he always taught the same thing. He taught the same 7 principles, which were Hermeticism. There's a book called the Hermetica, or a Hermes version was the Kabbalion, and then the Emerald Tablets, which are pretty much the whole basis of manifestation. That Thoth wrote the Emerald Tablets.
Is this why they call it Hermes, the brand?
Hermes?
Is it based off of that?
It's just to get, when you search Hermes, it brings up Hermes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So now you can't search it. Right? It's the same for all, like a lot of things that are like that. They don't want you to, if you're going to search for Hermes and you search that word, it's going to pull up a bunch of Birkin bags and belts, right? So you're not going to find the truth.
Interesting.
Would you? No.
I mean, if you dug to like the 1,000th page of Google on the black web or something,
it's going to be a lot harder to get to that. You're not going to find it on accident.
Yeah, you go find it on some TikTok.
Now, with Thoth, he did the ancient mystery schools in Egypt.
Okay.
Some say that's where Jesus went to when he disappeared for those years. He went to the mystery schools of Egypt. And that's where you learn magic with the K. That's where you learn manifestation. That's where you learn vibration. That's where you learn how to control the entire universe. But I forgot, what was the question you asked me? Totally.
Why is it magic with a K?
Magic, because magic with the C is just like illusionary, like a magician. Magic with the K is where all this stuff comes from.
It's like manifestation and all those other things.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the ancient mysteries. Now these are not meant to be given to everybody. Like I was saying, if you don't have the divine spark, if you're not there,
Right.
it's not going to mean anything to you. Once you're there, it finds you. When you get there, it just engulfs you, and then you start learning stuff, and the universe starts putting you where you need to be. Start saying, "Hey, go over here, go over there, go over here." And then you start meeting people that start opening you up. They might give you a book that you read. Okay, that opened me up to this book. And then I read this podcast and he introduced me to this. And now I'm on a TikTok algorithm with this. And now all of a sudden your ball's rolling.
Yeah.
Now you're learning.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like I said, the universe will just move everything around to make sure it finds you.
Gotcha.
If you start trusting it, then you start seeing it. Now with, he has one of the Hermetic laws is the law of correspondence. So there is no good and evil. There is no hot and cold. They're just varying degrees of each other. So at what point does water become hot and what point does it become cold? It's just warm in the middle, right?
Right.
Like you don't really have a set degree. You know when it freezes and you know when it's boiling. But if you start understanding that and then looking at good and evil as just varying degrees of each other,
Right.
then certain things you see, they don't bother you as much.
So are you talking about like, because we were talking about Satanism?
Yeah.
So are you talking about like it almost being like in an ecto chamber? Like Sebastian was going on a whole thing about this. Like, do you know what an ecto chamber is at all?
No.
Sebastian, you want to explain?
So an echo chamber is like basically when you dive into a certain aspect of like the world or whatever, that's what you start surrounding yourself around. Like, for example, if you think, this business corporation is evil, then you're going to start just seeing a whole bunch of things and you're starting entering a community that says like, oh, this corporation is evil. And
Or
everyone starts
money is
thinking,
evil.
yeah.
Okay, now with what you just said right there, when
Yeah.
you started it, this corporation is evil. You just manifested that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like,
Yeah,
that's
but
what.
that's
an example.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
example,
So no,
yeah.
but like think of it that way.
Yeah.
If I start thinking all music is evil, you're going to start seeing a bunch of stuff that you believe is evil, which in
Yeah.
your case it would have been Satanism and pagan, like a whole bunch of stuff like that.
That's the whole thing I was relating back to that the conversation earlier, or the question earlier about like the music has been kind of truing this darker frequency or energy imitation of it because the general public sees it as that way. So yes, I totally understand. There's no such thing as good or evil. I totally get that. There's no duality.
Good or bad,
yeah. But as far as the general public, they see that as that, and because it's perceived almost that way, that's how all these things are trying to lower everyone's vibration in a way because they're not yet awakened because they're still the NPC modes. Like for us, example, like we understand like there's no this. You can show me this, and I'm like, oh, that's just entertainment.
One of the other laws that is in the Hermetica was the law of cause and effect. Now, what I just taught you guys was the law of attraction is manifestation.
Right.
So if you control your entire universe and your universe says that this is evil and you want to see that, the universe is going to deliver more of that. Now, what happened with me was crazy. I love music. I'm a rapper. We did a whole bunch of stuff. I do a whole bunch of music, and I was listening to music and my vibration wasn't set on it. Like I used to love listening to Drake and stuff like that. And somehow I just wasn't really into it. Nothing was real. Everything on the radio started sounding like shit.
Right.
You remember that South Park episode when he turns 9 and all of a sudden the music just sounds like shit. Yeah. And the other day I go on my Apple Music and it starts playing me like higher vibrational music. Like music about people doing enlightenment and different technique and stuff like dudes rapping about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I want to rap about that. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it wasn't until I stopped paying attention and delivering energy to that stuff started to change, and then it started to deliver me what I wanted. Now, I don't really see it as that way anymore. Like let's say like the Lil Nas X and all the stuff that he was doing, all the visuals, like I was seeing that at that time. I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't see it anymore. Now all of a sudden it's delivering me all these other people.
Are you talking about like Freemason type of like subliminal messages, or are you talking about like, I'm talking about?
I don't see any of it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's gone. It's completely out of my universe.
Oh, that makes
Almost like it doesn't exist anymore. Now, when I was focusing on conspiracy theory or like everything is evil, there's a deep state,
like Illuminati.
Yeah, I started focusing on that. Now, all of a sudden, I started noticing all that type of stuff. Right. But when I don't deliver my energy towards it and my manifestation is moving towards something else, then that stuff starts to get delivered. And I start seeing people like one of my new favorite rappers, Queen Herbie. She's freaking dope.
Yeah, so that's what you're in a
in a
sense.
way, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
so
but
that's like your eco chamber.
Yeah, my chamber switched, my energy
exactly.
changed, my manifestation changed, and it stopped delivering me that stuff. And it started delivering me stuff that I wanted.
So in a form, that's the cause and effect. Like the cause is like I stopped thinking about it. The effect is it doesn't show up anymore.
Everything has a cause and effect
Gotcha.
to a varying degree. Like there is no coincidence.
Yeah.
Everything has a cause, and every effect has a cause, and every cause has an effect.
That makes sense.
See, like the main reason I bring up that stuff, because I get the whole there's no good or evil, but I want to, for the viewers, I want them to understand, like basically, like, you know, you create your own reality in a way.
They're creating the eco chamber.
Exactly. So like if you start saying all these negative things, that's what's going to start becoming your eco chamber, all these negative things.
And it's going to start multiplying and delivering you more of what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you might think, I don't want that, but you're looking for it. Now, once you start looking for it, then it starts delivering. Your manifestation starts bringing it to you. Here, check this out, check this out, check this out, until everybody thinks you're crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's like in the video games when you get into one car and all of a sudden you start seeing a whole bunch of those same exact cars start,
Yeah, it's like if
programming,
I was
yeah.
looking for like a new truck and I was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna buy the new Toyota Tacoma or whatever, and then next thing you know, I'm like, fuck, I see the Toyota Tacoma everywhere, or the number 23.
Right.
You know how they talk about that. So,
What the number 23?
oh, so like if you start seeing like if you start saying like, oh, my favorite number is number 23, and then everywhere you go now, you're gonna see the number 23. Like, oh, that house is number 23.
That happens to me with 1111
Yeah.
or 111.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still happens.
Oh, really?
Honestly, I added energy to it and I made it like, okay, every time you want this reaction, show me this number. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the correct path I'm supposed to go. Look, it's right there.
Yeah, I still see the number. I don't see 404 as much, but I still see 808 a lot, actually. And then I just began seeing just recently, out of like the last 2-3 months, 1111 constantly pop up. 1111 or 111.
Yeah.
Like how you said. And that
That's
beast thing goes pop up. And it's the most randomest times. It's like I'll just get off a phone call after talking to you or whoever, and it'll be like 808 on the clock. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? Or I'll be like, look, like just doing whatever, hanging out, and then I'll look at someone else's phone and I'll say 1111. And I'm like,
There's a thing called the 1111 synchronicity. So it's telling you to, once I did this, it's a meditation that I did to allow you to experience oneness. And that is life changing. Like it's being able to know about the one, like everybody comes from one consciousness, and being able to feel the one is almost like when you, like say you go to church and you feel Jesus, like that Holy Spirit thing. Like that just totally engulfs you and it'll basically change your life forever. It's probably telling you, hey, it might be time, you know,
Yeah.
start working on those meditations. And
I mean, it's crazy because like I started seeing those numbers over and over again, and then almost like out of nowhere in my dreams while I'm sleeping, I start getting like very vivid dreams about the most randomest things sometimes, and sometimes they'll be like even answering my life questions or something I haven't even thought about in a while, but then they'll just answer like, and it's all happened in the last like few months.
so now you're experiencing your higher self. Now you could control that to be able to ask those questions. Last time I was on your show, we talked about the Akashic record.
Yeah.
Right. I focused on accessing the Akashic record.
Oh shit.
I got it. Had no idea how to read what the hell I was doing. And I was like, okay, I came back out of the dream, out of the meditation. I was like, okay, I made it there. Now what do I do? What do I do next? How do I read it? I had no clue what I was doing. It felt like this big ass, like my visualization was like this big ass library full of stuff. And the librarian gave me my book, put it on the table. I opened it up and I had no clue what I was like, almost like it was different languages. Like all the words were moving around, like dyslexia. I'm like, okay, I have no idea how to read it. How do I read it? And then I started doing the 1111 synchronicity and then focusing on one. And then I started talking to my higher self. So I did a meditation, introduced myself to my higher self. It came down, you know, it engulfs me, and I asked the questions that you don't even have to ask the question. It already knows what questions I started asking it. Instead of asking it questions like, what do I do? How do I read it? What do I need to know? And it started to give me the answers. And then all of a sudden I start to know a lot about stuff that, how do I know that? You know what I mean? How do I know what quantum entanglement is? I have no clue. I'm not no physicist.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like I have no clue I mean, high school graduate, no college degree, nothing like that. And I start knowing stuff that I shouldn't know. And I start reading books that I would never have read. And then I started diving into deeper and deeper and deeper. And the next time I went to the Akashic record, I was able to understand what it was telling me. Okay, step back out. And then it introduced me to Thoth. which is I look at him now as like my personal teacher. He's now like, if I have to ask a question, he'll give me the answer. And he has a thing called the Halls of a Mentee, which is where it's almost like the Akashic record.
Okay.
And now what I want to do is focus on reaching the Halls of a Mentee.
So it's like it's his version of the Akashic records.
Some people said it was underneath the Sphinx, like actually in Egypt.
Wow.
They said they found something underneath the Sphinx when they were going to go down there. Pretty much got all canceled and stuff like that. So I don't know where that information, but it does exist in your meditation.
Wow. So I kind of want to step back because we're trying to turn this podcast into a different direction. It's going to be like more educational.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
self-improvement.
when we first started off the podcast, we were discussing like how you were using your newfound discoveries for business purposes and like improving in your own life. So what are some things that people can start doing today in order to start, opening up their third eye to this whole, beneficial of reality?
Honestly, what happened was I stopped focusing on what I wanted and I started focusing on what my best path would be. And using that manifestation to put me on that path is what's making my business successful. That's that's putting me in that area. It's teaching me the skills I need. I told you I started learning Neuro-Linguistic Programming for customer service.
NLP, yeah.
Yep, NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Worked great for my customers. My customer service rating is at a 90%, which is like record breaking.
Yeah.
In my line of business.
It's fucking crazy.
Can you go over that? Like, what is that exactly?
Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So
it's basically breaking a pattern from how I understand it. So
you ever seen the movie? Is it I think it's Confidence with Will Smith.
Confidence? No, I've never seen that.
So it's Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
And they do that bet with the Asian guy when they're watching the football game, right?
Yeah.
And he programmed 55.
Real quick, you know what's crazy? I literally just saw a scene of that like 2 days ago out of nowhere. Like I just scrolled on TikTok and it just popped up and I was like, I don't know why, but now I know why. Okay.
Yeah, who the heck did I learn neuro programming from?
Can I say where I learned it from?
Where did you learn it from?
So when I was studying in the pickup community, neuro-linguistic programming is a huge thing in picking up girls and like dating. So basically there's another thing called holding frame is what we call it in PUA as well. So basically it's you remember how you were just saying earlier, when the energy completely changes. So that's your frame of mind. So like it could be a completely negative frame of energy or she's being cold to you or whatever. And then as soon as you like change your frame, you change your energy, everything completely shifts.
Yeah.
You control the situation. That's basically another form of
NLP. It controls the situation to get the response that you need.
Right, exactly.
And it makes it a response, like you could control that response that you get through that programming. You could do it through mirroring.
Yep.
Matching.
Exactly.
Energy matching.
Those are all NLP tactics.
Those are all NLP techniques.
Yeah.
I use a numbering technique where I say specific numbers a certain amount of times to get the answer that I want at the end. And it works with sales too. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think I learned it in a sales book.
Yeah, sales is a huge factor when it comes to neuro-linguistic programming. Actually, I was so into it before that I found a video on YouTube where this gentleman was a neuro-linguistic programming expert and he taught it like as his whole life. Like that was his whole only focus, and he would go onto stage and speak about it. Sold the course on it, and he actually demonstrated. He was purposely speeding down the road and wanted to get like pulled over by a police officer, and then deployed all of his tactics to where the cop completely just had forgot that he was going to give him a ticket and was just like, okay, well, go on and have a good day. It was fucking mind blowing that. It's almost there's a dark side to it. There's a good side to NLP, and then there's a dark side to it. Like you can use it for like really bad shit, like manipulations and like all types of.
That's
things.
what it basically is a manipulation. It's a brain manipulation.
Yeah, you're basically shifting your brain. Like for example, like I can use body language and touch as a NLP. Like we can be arguing, but then I touch you on your shoulder and just like, hey, dude, did you see that corner I thought down? Like, oh, your shoes are untied, and then just come back up, and then we'll start a whole nother conversation. Then you'll forget that you were pissed at me.
I use it on my kids.
Yeah.
Like they're screaming, throwing a tantrum. I'm like, hey, where's your nose?
Yeah.
And then they have to stop that thing my nose is right here, and then all of a sudden the tantrum stops.
Yeah.
Like it's normal programming that our physical bodies have already been programming.
Exactly.
To tap into it as a manipulation.
Exactly. So it's basically like they call it neuro-linguistic programming. So it's your brain language programming. So what you do is, instead of like being in the programming, you do something in order to break that natural programming, and then it just disappears. So a lot of like hypnosis, like
Stage hypnosis.
yes, they'll do that. They'll say, "Oh, you're falling asleep," and then they'll start to change your programming in your brain to believe that you're actually falling asleep and doing stupid shit. When you wake up, you're gonna flash me your titties, and then wake up and flash the titties. Yeah, it's crazy. It's mind blowing.
It's already programmed. It's just changing the way
Yeah.
making the connections.
Yeah.
But
Manipulating. Yeah. There's dark magic, and then there's like good ways of using it for personal gain.
I ended up using that for more customer service based stuff, and it started getting me the answers I needed. It started getting me the sales, started getting me the the surveys and stuff like that. And then I started to use the manifestation techniques to get me to where I wanted to go.
Like, as in, like, are you doing like affirmations, or are you writing down your goals and you're manifesting it that way? Or
Honestly, I am I'm visual.
Okay.
So like once I unlocked once I got to my third eye and I was able to understand how visualization worked, I started to dig deep. What does it feel like?
so are you creating in your brain your own picture wall?
What it's going to be like?
Okay.
And then you have to be impeccable with your words, even when you're by yourself. And I started to understand that, and I started to use that, like, rather than, oh man, I'm gonna be late today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm in a rush. Be like, man, I'm gonna hit every green light on the way to work today. And now all of a sudden I'm there.
Yeah, it's like the AI, it's like the AI prompt we were talking about. The more detail you are, the better it is.
Once I started to focus on, okay, I started off it was a dead end job. I wasn't gonna go nowhere. There's no room for growth. And I started focusing on, if I do stay here, where's it gonna go? And now it's opened up these, 6-figure incomes and stuff like that, growth plans, $1 million jobs, and sales and stuff like that were never there. They weren't there a couple of years ago.
So you were saying you learned how visualization works. So how does it work?
I stopped thinking of it as imagination and started thinking it as visualization. And I started using that for my prompts. I started using that to envision what I needed, not what I needed, but what the best path would be. And then I stopped focusing on what I wanted and what's the best path for me. And then I started trusting my higher self in the universe to deliver it. And I used the smaller techniques, like I said, change every light to green, just in my everyday life. And it works. It works every time. You know what I mean? I win every day at the casino. If I say that all the time, I'm going to win every day at the casino. And now all of a sudden I live in a state of abundance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just always there. It's there when it knows when I need it, because I constantly live in a state of abundance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now all those things that were once, oh man, when I'm thinking this is a dead end job, it's going nowhere, this isn't going to lead to anything, to this is the best job I've ever had. I'm going to make the most money I've ever made in my entire life. I'm getting all new adventures. I'm going places. Now all of a sudden it's different, and I'm at the same place, right? Like it's the same. Like, where did all this come from? Was it me just manifesting, or was it just a coincidence? There is no coincidence. It's cause and effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every effect has a cause. Every cause has an effect, and that's what's happening right now. Is everything that I manifested is starting to fall into place. Boom, boom, boom. Even stuff that I didn't manifest is just now coming to me because I live in a constant state of abundance.
I know you say there's no such thing as like good or bad, you know what I mean? But the way everything is, it's like they want you to transform.
The programming wants you to transform.
Yeah.
I think the programming is kind of leading towards depopulation.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah, you have more gay people, you have more transgenders, you have more males that can't reproduce. I mean, it's just leading towards depopulation, which is probably okay. I mean, we shouldn't have this many people on this earth anyway.
I was reading about in 2007 they put out a study that says that we're producing 20% less births every year. That was 2007. So I can't imagine what it is today. Like, it's probably much lower than that.
I mean, that's what that leads to. I mean,
yeah.
Let's say there is something it could just be the earth that's doing it to us. You know what I mean? What was it, the happening? Like, it'll fix itself. You know what I mean? And that might be leading to more, like estrogen or like lower testosterone to cause less reproduction.
But then that mostly comes from like the food and everything that's given us
Yeah.
to us, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but
not like, it's not like, you know, I mean, if we were to eat, because people that eat more natural, more, less like genetically modified foods and all that
Those
stuff.
people don't reproduce.
No, the ones that eat less of it reproduce more.
Who has more kids?
You do right now.
People that eat fast food. You ever seen Idiocracy?
He was just talking. I have not seen that.
You have not seen that?
But he was talking about
That
it.
thing is like nailing what our
Yeah, the whole Crocs thing. and everything. Yeah.
people that eat vegan food and like all that like stuff,
Yeah.
like they reproduce less.
Well, I'm not saying about vegan food though. I'm saying like eat more natural meats, more natural like eggs, and you know, drink your milk. You know, all these stuff. Don't go to veganism, because veganism, you got to supplement a lot of other nutrition to get the same amount of nutrition you can get eating like regular meats. But I'm talking about like don't.
But take a look at that demographic, right? So that demographic is more responsible. So they're going to be they're going to be more likely to have no kids or one kid.
Veganism?
Like the demographic itself.
That's in more vegan.
Yeah. Are they going to have 10 kids? How many people you think? I mean, the people that have 10 kids, where do you think they eat at? McDonald's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They get Happy Meals.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones that are reproducing. That's kind of what that movie Idiocracy was about, is like the dumb people that had more kids, those overpopulated.
That's actually a very fair point, because studies show that people who with less income and less education actually have way more children, and then the ones that are smarter and highly educated, they actually have less children. Like smarter, like high educational people, like with degrees and backgrounds, actually only prefer to have 1 or 2 kids. But people who have lower education have way more
14
fucking kids. Yeah.
I know people that have 12, 14 kids.
Yeah. So you think it's leading to the depopulation of like uneducated people, or like people with just lower income bracket, or what?
Well, there's lower income for sure.
Yeah.
But the people that have the higher income have less kids. And those are the people that are college educated, and
Right.
you know, they're more responsible, and they think they don't want to have as many kids because they don't, you know, they can't afford it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
The people that don't, the people that just have pop kids out left and right,
They rely on the government. So
they just it just happens. They just make it happen. And those are the ones that have 10, 14 kids.
yeah, hella
Compared
kids.
to 2 kids that are college educated.
Yeah.
You got 14 kids that are not.
Yeah, could you imagine putting fucking 10 kids through college? There's no
One
way.
kid through college.
I know.
Like, even with one kid, it's hard to do. Even I couldn't put myself through college.
I know. It's fucking crazy.
It's just like that's what it's kind of what it's leading to, is going to be a mass amount of uneducated. Well, that's great for the economy because you have more workers.
Right. Employees.
Yeah, you have more employees. But then it leads to less educated
Yeah.
people. I mean, it's kind of what you're seeing here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand where you're going with this whole thing. Like, when it comes to like keeping our frequencies down and in order to enslave us. I think we did talk about this before with the,
Anunnaki?
the Anunnakis.
slavers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that there's a contribution to society in order to keep our frequencies down and basically control our brains in order to keep us from, you know, because there's no way they're going to let us like reach our highest self.
Well, there's what book was I reading? The Raw Contact. So there's this book called The Raw Contact. It's about, I think it was in like the 60s or 70s, where they had this lady who got into a hypnosis where they made contact with, which was a fifth density alien race. They're like, hey, we're here to help. And it was kind of talking about those the other alien ones that were here to say, hey, let's just enslave everybody and keep everybody working. But if you keep the vibration low, you know, and you keep people believing in evil and, you know, this is good, this is bad, you know, don't do this, do that, you know, and then along with the school system, teaching people how to be employees, clock in, clock out, right?
Slaves. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to keep us in a slave race mentality. You know what I mean? And that's what we're programmed to do. And unless you break the programming, then you'll never get to that point. Now that in that book, it talks about a harvesting. So
A harvesting?
almost like a culling.
Okay. Wow.
It's like, once we're going to put this out there and the people that are able to accept it will be harvested, you know, they can enlighten, they can return to, you know, the light. And that's kind of what the Christ consciousness was talking about. Even in some of the, not the canon biblical, but like the Apocrypha and the Nag Hammadi, which is some of Jesus's other teachings.
Right.
It teaches enlightening, and it talks about being able to return back to that light, you know, to the one.
So in this harvesting, it's a good or a bad thing? Because
Well, if you want to, you can stay on a karmic loop and do this over and over and over again as long as you want.
If you are a believer that Earth is your hell, right?
Well, if you adhere to the programming, you're going to stay stuck in a karmic loop, and you can run this programming as many times as you want.
Gotcha.
As many different things as you want, over and over and over and over and over again, and never get past it, or you return to the all and regenerate.
But there's no guarantee that harvesting or culling is going to get you back up to the light. It's only something that because it's not been proven, right? Like, how do we know, right, for a fact?
None of it's been proven. I mean, if science, I look at science kind of like a religion too.
Right. It is, yeah.
Because everything's a theory.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, everything is a theory. This is what we believe to happen. It is true until it's not true.
Right. So doesn't like spirituality and enlightenment kind of play into the idea of like quantum science?
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never felt so close to a science as quantum. Yeah, that is, it almost runs face first with spirituality. It's the same thing. Honestly, it's the same thing.
I feel like, this is how I feel about like all religions and belief. It's all based off of the same thing. We just interpret it differently. It's just like all based off of perspective.
Yeah, you can perceive it as however you want. Whatever you want to perceive is going to be true. Right. Because you're the master of your own universe. So how does your universe work? Does it work through Christianity? Does it work through Judaism? Does it work through however you want to perceive it is true. Yeah. So you can experience it however you want.
Have you heard of the what is that thing that we were just watching? How it's like the Great Reset, but in
Tartarian, the Tartarian Society.
Yeah. That was actually a little, well, I started looking back on it and I started to think, as you start to experience more death and more, people passing away around you, it's like, dang, that whole side of history is gone now. Right. I looked at it with like music, like say my grandma used to listen to this whole type of music. My dad used to listen to this. They're gone now. Yeah. Now my kids might not ever experience that music. Right. So now it no longer exists in our universe.
Right.
The same thing with the Tartarianism. Like when I started to look at buildings, and like, oh man, that's beautiful. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Was it an entire race that completely got reset?
Or was it the forgotten? Is that what you're saying?
I actually seen this thing the other day too on the Orphan trains.
Nope, never heard of it.
After World War II, there was these orphan trains that, how a lot of people died during World War II. You had the plague, you had a bunch of other stuff that happened all at the same time that caused a lot of the adults to die. And these orphan trains were brought in, and there was all these orphans that got brought it. That's what caught like the baby boom and all that other stuff. That started,
I know what you're talking about.
Where did all these people come from? You know what I mean? Some of them didn't have, families. And I started to think back, man, I want to do like a 23andMe or see where, I actually came from, what part, of this earth I came from. But there's all these things where they're like, oh no, there was actually a different type of war that occurred, during that time. And it was not the world war that we seen with.
Oh, it's like a smaller war?
No, like a interplanetary war.
What?
Yeah. And that's what caused the Great Reset for everybody to forget. How do you forget the entire amount of.
Holy shit, my mind's blown right
I don't know enough on this subject because I barely got introduced to it.
Yeah.
But I was like, what the hell is that about? Like, that's crazy that some of them were born without belly buttons.
Oh, wow.
Which means, what does that mean?
They weren't even born, yeah.
Yeah. So what were they?
So they were never.
Were they repopulated?
Yeah, they were. If you're not born with a belly button, that means you were not a fucking umbilical baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you look back, you're like, how far does my line go back?
Did you? There's a show on Netflix with the kid with the horns. Oh,
Sweet Tooth? I haven't watched it yet.
Sweet Tooth. And they're all like, that's how they identify them. Kids without belly buttons. Because they're all made in a lab.
See how they're drip fed? You drip fed some of these things? I haven't seen that yet.
Dude, it's such a good show,
I haven't dived into
you
that
gotta
part
watch
of
that
it.
fucking show. I canceled Netflix, so. Like, dude, I went through this whole thing, like, canceling a whole bunch of distraction, like, platforms. Is Netflix. Next thing is going to be, like, HBO Max and Amazon Prime and stuff. But, like, just basically, like, rearranging everything because I felt like there was so much toxic shit in social media that I was just like, all right, I don't care about this. I don't care about that. Because it's all about the cause and effect law, right? So, like, I just want to see things that play into my life so that those things will click into my brain subconsciously and then just manifest from there. So I don't know if that's how your process works, but that's how it is in my world.
Honestly, I look at it like the universe will deliver it to me. So whether it be on Netflix or, you know, a new album that drops or, you know, something like that, it's going to come to me in whatever form it needs to manifest.
Yeah.
And I've just started trusting it. I'll be like, oh man, that's crazy. Like that came from there.
Yeah. My whole thing is just removing all distractions at this point.
I stopped looking at the good and the bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, if it's going to deliver, it's going to deliver. Where does it come from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My whole thing is just focus though. Like I just want to be 100% focused on this and that's it. Like the whole thing about the how it's got me blown too, because I'm like always focusing on the how. Like every time I call you, it's like, how do we do it? How do we do this?
I completely stopped focusing on the how.
Yeah.
And just started focusing on the prompt.
Yeah.
And it's delivering.
I don't know though. Like in the world of like reality and like finance and like all those things, they always talk about like one thing. Like instead of saying like, I can't do this, it's like, how can I do this? Right. So that's why I'm such a huge, like, how am I going to do this? Like I'm such a goal oriented person. Like it's almost like controlling in a way.
I use that to a sense. Like, when I say be impeccable with your words, I stop saying, oh man, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And how can I afford that?
Yeah. The rich dad, poor dad.
It's just killing that word out of the scarcity, the fear, just trying to kill that word. So that way any of my manifestation or prompts, you know, are positive.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Just
that's
killing the negative.
Well, that's also the thing. Like I just felt like that I had so many distractions on like all of my social media feeds that I was like, how does this make me feel like today? Like, am I like feeling like negative about like certain things that I'm watching and feel like doing? And like for example,
But then again, what if those were positive? They made you feel positive.
if they made me feel positive, then I would just leave it. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So if you move yourself to if you're feeling this is making you feel negative,
right,
then you're manifesting the negative to deliver more. Now you can use it.
But what if you were to just take control of it and just remove it completely? You're like, oh, this doesn't go with my life anymore. Like I'm shifting my mindset.
When your frequency changes and it's no longer needed in your life, it'll remove itself.
Well, I think that's exactly what happened.
Then that's what happened.
Because like, I mean, there's a reason why I joined like these groups on Facebook, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is like good shit. And then eventually it just started like shifting, and I was like, why am I getting like way more like a negative feeling from this? Like,
yeah, that it's no longer in your frequency anymore.
Yeah,
so
just weird.
it removed itself.
Yeah.
So you no longer need it.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with crystals. Like when you lose it or you drop, it breaks. You no longer need it, dude. It's gone.
That's exactly how I feel about certain things. Like when because every time I get like one of these or whatever, and every once in a while, every few months, they'll just like either completely get destroyed or just disappear. And I'm like, all right, I'll just get something else.
You no longer need it.
Yeah. Or I feel like it used everything it could and it absorbed everything it needed to. So it had to get rid of it so I can replenish it, like almost like a new cycle or whatever type thing.
Wait, so why do you wear all those? Anyways, I want to know.
I like the way they look, but I do have
because those are Buddhist beads.
Yeah. I like the way they look for the most part, but I do feel like they do protect or observe some type of negative energy or something like that.
Yeah, of course. Buddhism plays a huge part.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I don't buy them just
They're
because
Buddhist beads. Can I see what you got?
they're tiger eye, and then this one's some black one.
That's a volcano.
Are you familiar at all with the Buddhist beliefs of enlightenment at all? Oh man,
Yeah. But like,
fucking blow your mind. You should read the what is it? The Esoteric Buddhism book. Fucking crazy, bro.
Actually,
I'm surprised that you're actually not more Buddhist.
Well, the problem is I don't adhere to any religions.
Well, it's not. Well,
like I just take everything that resonates.
So from my understanding, people created Buddhism to become a religion, but originally it was never a religion. It was just the way to the enlightenment. You know, over time, people started to change those things into control people, right?
Yeah.
And what happens when it becomes a religion is for control.
So the way I look at it is if the universe needs me to know it, it would deliver it. And that's kind of what's been happening with I deal with Gnostic Christianity and Hermeticism. Like those have really opened my path to a specific way. Now, if Buddhism was meant to be on my plate, it would have already got delivered. Gotcha. Or it might get delivered later. Yeah. Like it's not like I'm away from it, but it's like I said, I'm open to all blessings. So once it's delivered, then I'll understand when I need it, why I needed it.
Gotcha.
I mean, for me, it almost seems like he's already living it. He's like, there's just no name to it, though. Yeah. He just doesn't know.
There's no label.
To it. Yeah. Everything you're explaining is pretty much like almost like what Buddhism like originally was meant to promote. Like, you know,
Are you like familiar with anything like plant related? Because I know like you're into the stones thing, but are you like, do you know anything about plants and like their frequencies?
Well, so I'm not a big. I don't smoke weed at all.
No, I'm talking about just plants.
But there is one plant that got delivered to me it's going to be on my list. It actually showed itself to me and it said, "Hey, you need to have this." It's the blue lotus flower. I haven't tried it yet, but it's my teacher is like, "You need this," and usually when he says that, that's when I'm like, okay, yeah,
you're about to go through your rebirth.
Yeah, I've never tried like ayahuasca or any of the DMTs, anything like that. No, but the blue lotus flower has been put into my view now. And
what is that exactly?
It's a Egyptian water lily that they used to smoke or make tea out of. That helps with it kind of puts you into that high, almost like a hallucinogen, but it puts you into the space that you need to be. And ever since I've been working with Toth, he's introduced me to certain things like the Adara. He made sure I had to get this green Adara crystal for my meditation. And then the next one was like, hey, try this out. You need to try this. I started to look into those different things, and that's what's kind of getting me on different paths.
Interesting. Wow.
But I started, like I said, focusing on the universe, and he's been a great teacher. What's crazy is I came here like unprepared, like not like my girl was even telling me like, what are you guys going to talk about? Like, it's like whatever they ask me, whatever.
Sex magic, apparently.
That's what I told her. Sex magic. That's it.
That's how I go into most podcasts. I don't know. We're just going to talk about something.
Yeah, I had like this whole thing written down, like I was gonna get, but I mean, we just kind of knocked out all the.
Is that all of it? What else did you have?
Oh, we didn't talk about the frequency change of losing friends either.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is, I didn't know about this until it started happening, and then once it was one of those books that I was talking about. I think it was Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
So Dolores Cannon, she's a quantum healing hypnotherapist.
Oh shit.
She has a bunch of books. She passed away a while ago. But one of her books, I think it was The Convoluted Universe. She has a ton of books, but The Convoluted Universe was like her entry, like the first book. And she's doing they're basically like transcripts of her hypnotherapy sessions. So she's talking to somebody and she's asking their subconscious questions, and the subconscious is answering. And it asks kind of about we were talking about the harvest. And he was like, well, when I'm harvested, like what will happen to my family? And then the subconscious answered and told her, you don't have to worry about that. Your family is going to slowly like disappear. Like, and she was like, from existence. And she was like, well, no, they'll still be around, but they're not going to be in your life anymore. And when I heard that, I was like, I looked around and I was like, shoot, I have 11 brothers, right?
Right.
So they're all gone. They all are gone doing their own thing. I haven't got a call from them in like 2 years. It's not like I'm upset or we're mad or fighting.
Right.
Slowly, friends and people that weren't on the same frequency as me started to peel away. Like they weren't needed anymore.
Right.
And then I started to look, I talked about this last time I was on the podcast with you. Like when something's not in existence anymore, like something's not manifested, it's unmanifested, it no longer exists in your universe. And that's kind of what happened. It's like your friends, the friends that you had, the relationships you had, the different things that were in your life are no longer needed, and they slowly dissipate and disappear, and you don't even notice.
That's true.
And then you know what, you look up like, what the heck? Where's everybody at?
Yeah, where's that guy been?
We used to be every holiday. We used to be every, every family function, birthday parties, all this stuff. Everybody would be there at the same time, and then slowly everything disappeared.
Yeah.
And the path opened up, right?
Yeah.
This is the path you're supposed to walk on. This is the frequency you're supposed to be on. They're not on that same frequency with you, so they're not there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the perfect example of that is like, as you grow older, you don't keep your same friends from like middle school, elementary. Like you start making new friends because you're operating in that stage. And then after high school, like you could have had the bestest of friends, and then they just disappear, and you never hear from them. But you can always think about the memories, like, oh yeah, we used to do stupid shit and blah blah blah. But then because your mind is on a different wavelength, it's like they don't.
But it's totally out of sight, out of mind. Like,
yeah.
Like they no longer exist.
Yeah.
Did they exist?
No, but what I'm saying is like there are friends still from high school to this day that are doing the exact same fucking shit they were doing in high school. But because I've grown past that, they're no longer in existence. I can think of them now, right now, as we speak about them, but on a daily basis, they're not there.
Nope.
They're gone.
They no longer exist in your universe. They're unmanifested now.
Yeah.
Until you bring them back up.
Yeah.
Until you manifest.
Yeah. They're probably going to show up now because I just talked to them.
Right. Like there's the energy and frequency. There's the manifested and the unmanifested. Like manifested right now, this in my hand, you know, it's here. But you know, a week ago, this didn't exist. You know, the same thing with friends and family members. Like they existed at one time, but they no longer exist in this universe with me. They're gone.
Yeah. Crazy.
And then it's just, I mean, frequency. Like if I change my if my frequency raised too high, like what happened? Where'd they go?
Yeah.
I mean, I can probably call them, but.
Speaking of frequency, I want to talk about like physical frequency. Like I was driving to Pahrump a couple months ago, and then you're fucking bored on the road. I'm just driving, and then I decide to like look over, and I just see mountains and sand. That's all I see, and some plants here and there. But when I was looking over to my right, and I just seen like all of these hills, you can just see the wave patterns of everything, and that like really gets you to think about like all the frequencies that naturally happens as like you don't even think about it, but like it's constantly shifting in a physical form of like just movement.
I think about it like in the like when you see like videos of like the Sahara Desert when it like brushes over and you can see the little lines.
Were you there when we went to the Apex Dunes to do the shoot?
Yeah, I was at the
same
shoot.
thing. Yeah,
right. Like it's
fucking mind blowing, dude. Mind blowing.
Yeah, that was a great shoot. That was one of my last shoots, I think.
Was it that last?
No, I think I did like one or two after that.
I think it was the studio and then the Apex.
Yeah, like my creativity is completely moved to a different area.
Really? Yeah, I can see that because like the art that I used to like when I first got into that was like very amateur focused. Like, oh, let's just do this. Now it's like on some other shit. It's like holy shit, like
Next level shit.
Yeah, it's just like whoa, like I don't know where I'm going with this, but let's go with it.
Yeah, I started writing more. I started doing a bunch of other stuff that is just like, man, what can I do?
Yeah.
I'm a divine creator. What can I use this power for?
Right.
And then, I mean, let's see what comes out of it. It might be $1 billion idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could make the next Harry Potter or Star Wars.
Well, I mean, it's like what what Rhonda Brines was talking about. You can just manifest it, and then tomorrow you might just wake up and have a $1 million idea.
Right out of nowhere.
Yeah, crazy.
It happens and it gets delivered.
Yeah, and she was talking about how like it may not happen right away, but it will happen if you continue to just keep manifesting that within your vibrations.
I stopped focusing on time. Like I started looking at time as an illusion now. And because with quantum, once you get to that fifth density state or that fifth dimensional state, time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's like, why am I so focused on how long this is going to take?
Yeah. So speaking of time, you were talking about timelines and how you can jump them. How do you do that?
I do it through visualization.
Oh, okay.
So I did this visualization, and it was basically I access my higher self. And do you watch Star Wars?
I've seen some, but I could probably relate to it more like with The Flash or something.
Okay, so in Star Wars, I watched this show called Rebels, which was one of the cartoons.
Okay.
And they had the Space Beyond, which had like all these different doors, right? On this, it looked like it was in space, and it had all these pathways. This is how I envisioned it when I was doing the visualization. Because when you do the visualization, it doesn't give you instructions on what you see. Yourself just shows it to you. And that's kind of what resonated with me and how I seen it. And it just like I was in space, and they had all these walkways that led to these arches, almost like
So it's almost like Monsters Inc.
Yeah, but they weren't doors. Yeah, but Monsters. You know how Monsters Inc. has those doors,
Right.
And then I had all these doors. Now, when I did the Akashic Records, remember I told you I had no clue.
Right.
I didn't have no clue how to read it. But guess what? My higher self knows what's in each door. So I don't have to know. So I focused on my higher self. I like rose myself up to where I can see all the doors. And then I told my higher self, put me on the path that I need to be on. And it put me on a specific door, and then I walked through it. And that was the visualization that I used to get me to my path.
So that's how you jump timelines.
Yep.
And then when you get through that door, is it something that shows you an answer from a different timeline? And then
Nope, I just trusted it. So that's what led me there.
Oh, I see. So you're physically putting yourself into a totally different timeline, and you're just like, whatever I wake up to,
This is the right one. So I gave the prompt to my higher self, like, I need to be put on the best path for me. And there was millions of doors on these millions of, almost like Rainbow Road.
So basically, if anytime you go into this meditation of like visions and manifestations, you can put yourself in a timeline every fucking day or any time of the day.
You shift timelines 1 billion times per second. Did you see Quantumania with the new Ant-Man?
Yeah.
When he starts talking about the possibilities, and there's like billions of them.
Yeah.
That all exists. So like, you think of it like that. There's all these different. There's more than billions. It's infinite amount. But you shift 1 billion times per second. Like, my timeline shifts right now when I go to pick this up.
Right.
Now, if there's a timeline where I didn't pick that up, now what changed?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, if I can focus on, I don't know which timeline I'm supposed to be on, right? I don't know everything, but my higher self does. So if I use my higher self to access that timeline, hey, which timeline am I supposed to be on? What's the best for me?
Right.
And I raise myself up and then drop myself on and trust that my higher self puts me into that specific timeline. Then my visualization is complete. My prompt is complete.
All right.
And now my manifestation.
I'm going to throw a curveball here. What happens to the you that was in that timeline already?
It still exists.
So you just basically join with that other you in that timeline?
It's just my frequency changed. So my frequency changed. It's the same person. It's not. You know who explained it kind of well? Everything all together all at once.
Oh, okay.
What is that movie?
Yeah, that fucking movie was wild. It was such a good movie.
Yeah, they didn't change, right?
Yeah.
Just the the energy, the same. It's the same. It takes the same energy for me to be here than it takes me to be somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like doing something weird.
Yeah. So it's not like it's the same spirit, right? So you got mind, body, spirit, right?
Yeah, but like it also in that movie though, there was like a complete brain shift though. You know what I mean? Like there's a different life.
The ego shifted.
Right, exactly. The ego shifted.
Yeah, the ego shifted. Not
so what happens to the
body?
ego?
The body didn't change. The ego is just like, look at the shoot. I can't remember this guy's name. I totally got to give him credit, but it explained it perfectly. Now think of, we all come from the all, right? So think of it like the ocean, right? So if you take a cup and scoop it into the ocean, right, and you got that water in that cup. The cup is the body. The water is the spirit.
The ego.
The ego is the dye that you put into the water to make it yourself.
Okay.
All that changed was the ego. The body didn't change and the spirit didn't change. All that changed was the ego. The ego doesn't exist. The ego is just the programming. It's just the dye. It's just the change. It's not a person. It's your same spirit. The spirit comes from the same place.
Right.
It's the same energy, the same everything. That dye is just the ego. So when you separate yourselves from the ego, you are not that person. Your mind, body, spirit. It's a mind, body, spirit complex.
So can we say the ego is basically like the personality?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. The ego is the programming.
Right. It's the personality of the programming.
Yeah. It's the programming. Yeah. It's the dye. It's not it's not the spirit.
Gotcha.
It's not the body.
So how would you explain the spirit?
The spirit comes from the all. So everybody comes from that collective consciousness. So we're just a piece of it. That's that divine spark.
That's what gives the meat sleeve of life.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And the ego is just the programming. So when you separate yourself from the programming, like through an ego death or letting yourself know, hey, I am not this body. Right. Then the programming becomes a little bit easier to work with. Right. So that's what it does. Basically, you're just moving this consciousness into that body. You're not changing the consciousness out of that body because it's the same consciousness. We come from the same place.
Right.
It's the same spirit. It's happening at the same time. It's me. I just shift it to that timeline.
Right. So in that movie, it basically, the ego shifts and basically gives the other ego spirit information.
Ego and spirit are separate.
Right. So it basically just gives the other spirit like information.
Yeah. So all that changed was the ego changed.
Right. Wow.
Is the different programming.
And then there was a time where the ego would have to go back to the other timeline.
The ego doesn't need to go anywhere. It's not energy. Yeah. The ego doesn't need to go anywhere. It's just programming. It's just the code.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, I'm just visualizing the movie and how they portrayed it. So
they did a decent job of portraying it.
Yeah, it was a great fucking movie. There's so many movies that are like that, like the Jet Li and Jason Statham movie.
The One.
War.
I just watched that 2 days ago.
One. Was it One?
The One.
Yeah, the One. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you kill yourself that many times though.
Hey man, you become super powerful.
Just start collecting the energy.
Yeah.
I can see how it would work.
Collecting spirits, right?
Right.
That's what happened. He became a fucking Super Saiyan. Dude.
Just charge it up, guys.
Yeah,
charge it up and release.
It's crazy how those movies like lead you back to, like I said, watching it then.
Those are
and
good
watching it
theories
now.
though, right? Good
Yeah.
theories. Like everybody has their own theory. I'm sure. Like in somebody else's reality, it's like it's possible for that theory to play. Like where if you were to just kill yourself in every timeline, you just absorb them.
Yeah, it was great. Oh,
So let me ask you this: when you're switching to like a different timeline and stuff like that, is it possible to have like clash within yourself with like two different timelines clashing with each other in a way internally?
Actually, in that movie, there was that.
So it's like, you know, like when we're like, sometimes you're clashing with yourself with like self identity, like which way you want to go. It's like almost like your egos, like two different egos attaching each other, or like two
If you
different-
watch the movie, it's the greatest explanation because it proves that it's possible to clash. But now I don't know in his.
well, if you separate yourself from your ego, then it makes it easier. If you understand that you are not in that movie, though, it was more ego based.
Yeah.
Like his ego.
Yeah, she was fighting it.
Yeah, it was one ego versus the other, but it's the same spirit. So
I mean,
like,
in both movies, actually, they portrayed that because Jet Li was fighting Jet Li, and both egos clashed. And then in everywhere, whatever the fucking movie title is, I always forget the name of it. But she was fighting because remember when they were
yeah, they moved her to the kung fu.
Yeah.
So-
She made it when she was in the janitor's closet. She was ego fighting herself, like, no, I don't want to fight. And then she, you know what I mean? So it was like a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, in order to get to that space though, you really have to do it you have to separate yourself.
Yeah.
And then that allows you to bring that frequency up to the point where you understand how that works, and then you can change your timelines.
You know, watching that movie, I really did think about you, especially with when the daughter shows that nothing, the nothing. I was like, fucking Prime. I was like, fucking Prime. I was watching it with my girlfriend. I was like, this is supposed to be a romantic night. I'm thinking about Prime and shit.
Where does this come from? I mean, like I said, it exists billions. You shift 1 billion times per second. Every little movement, every little motion, has a different cause and effect. And what does that cause and effect cause? Butterfly effect, right? Like it could be a big wave or it could be nothing, but you don't know until you experience it.
What is your thoughts on butterfly effect? Have you seen the movie with Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, that's a time travel movie though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, kind of. Yes. No.
Is it a time travel or?
Because, like, I mean, cause and effect goes with the cause and effect laws of the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
too,
So
right?
the
like what
butterfly flapping
happens?
its wings could change.
Yeah.
Cause the dinosaurs to go extinct.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's just the frequency.
Isn't that
changes.
considered quantum science in a form?
I would think it would be.
Right, because it's all related. I mean,
If it has to do with time travel, then it definitely is.
yeah.
But like I said, I had to step away from that and start realizing time is an illusion. Right?
Yeah.
If you look at it like you have full control over it, then you do. If I'm always going to be late, then I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
If I have plenty of time.
You know, scientifically, I was thinking about something the other day because I was talking to my son, and my son was, and I was like, "Hey, dude, you're gonna be back from Hawaii soon," and he was like, "Oh yeah, how many days is it gonna be?" And I'm like, "Jesus, if you count by days, it's gonna be forever. if you count it by weeks, it's a little bit faster, and if you count it by months, it's super fast." And then I was like, I remember when I was a kid, I'd count everything by days, and everything just felt so long. Just the concept of time and how long it's going to take there, because you're like, oh well, now you're counting down the minutes and the hours and everything. You're breaking it down to the smallest portion of everything. But if you were just like, oh, it's been like 2 hours, okay, 24 hours, you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, if the more you break it down into smaller pieces, it becomes.
But do you see how much control you have over it?
Yeah.
Like that, just that thought process of you being able to control time, you know, allows you that time to go faster or slower based off of how you perceive it.
Right.
And some days drag on because you're like, dang, this day's taking forever. And then some days are just like, shit, I'm already home.
Flew by.
You know?
Yeah.
Where did that time go? You know what I mean? If you look at it as an illusion, as a manifestation, then you have control over it too.
Right.
You got to be the master of your universe in a whole.
So time is not a concept at all to you anymore.
Time, it doesn't maintain as much weight as it used to. I started looking at it as now it's just there. It's just a programming of this specific density,
Damn.
time and space.
Fucking.
It's a tool to schedule things.
Right.
All right. Any closing words, bro? Anything you want to talk about before we close? It's been like,
I mean,
It's over already?
Everything the last few months I've been going through pretty much been answered
yeah.
and clarified, and it makes more sense now. You know, I mean, is there any other questions in there that we have?
I mean, if you want to talk about Marvel, we didn't really touch too much on that.
We did a little bit. How they drip drop little things.
Yeah, but I mean, like we can always go into a little bit more detail. If not, then it's fine.
I think we sprinkled that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, self-baited.
Yeah, I look at now. I've been looking at pop culture as more of my as a manifestation technique of stuff I'm supposed to learn, and I'm not like, oh man, they're just doing this just to feed the entire world. I've been getting like little droplets from everything.
But isn't time a concept in what's his name? Fuck. I'm so terrible with names right now.
Oh, Doctor Strange?
Yeah, like the Doctor Strange series.
Is it?
No, not really.
I thought time was no, it wasn't.
No, because it goes with like different dimensions and stuff like that too. Like he can pause it and rewind it and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
so
but
that's-
I mean, it's not like
He has some that don't have time. Like
Yeah.
when he trapped
So he basically travels any timeline.
at any given time. Yeah,
yeah, they're diving so deep into that right
yeah,
now.
dude, it's crazy. That's what I was just thinking, because like we're talking about time, and then Doctor Strange.
No, Doctor Strange controls time, so time technically is irrelevant to him because he can just go wherever he wants, whenever he wants.
Right, but it's
That's how
still
I see
a
it.
factor of time, though. You get what I mean? He's
Time
able
is
to,
relevant though. So like in a space that let's say you lived, your lifespan is 100,000 years. Time is a lot different than
That's
somebody who lives 100
60
years.
to 100 years.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
That time is relative to
It's infinite.
yeah, so it's really more of an illusion based off of your relevancy. Where I mean, if I stop looking at how much time I have on this earth, then I have more time, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's what they're kind of drip feeding us this information, because this information has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And now it's getting drip fed into everybody. And then I think of it more of like like if I try to explain it to you and you'd be like, oh, like in Marvel? No, I'm either crazy or yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Or
I totally understand. I'm just trying to put the concept together for the listeners, because they're probably.
I try and put like I use pop culture as a kind of like a little spoonful of sugar, kind of like to make it easier to digest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this, like, if you look at it like this way, they kind of explained it in this movie.
Isn't it crazy how writers have the concept of these ideas?
I think writers use their frequency to get the information. Now, like I said, this stuff already exists somewhere. The Marvel universe exists. Even in Marvel universe, they break it down to different universes.
Right.
So it exists somewhere. If you're able to tap into that, you can visualize it. Now you created it. Right?
Right. No, yeah, you're right.
So Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, they all thought about this stuff, and then they wrote it down. Same thing with like the Harry Potter world.
Or it came to them, right?
Yeah. It's all frequency. So if you're on that frequency link, there's been some people that have came up with the same invention at the same time because they were on the exact same frequency. Like the light bulb, or like that information went to two different parts of the world at the same time because that frequency gave them that information. Matter of fact, in the Eternals, not Gilgamesh, what's his Faustos? When he would give them the information, that's how he would give them the information for those inventions.
Yeah.
So it's like another thing where they're just drip feeding it to you.
People hated that movie.
They did, because
They just don't understand it.
The first time I watched it, I was like, this movie sucks. And then after I started to dive into some of my
concepts.
my journey, it started to make more sense to me. I'm like, oh shoot, is that how that works? And matter of fact, Makari has the Emerald tablets in that movie.
I haven't watched this. So
No, you probably never. It wasn't until I rewatched it and she was like, hey, I got you the Emerald tablets, and I was like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
they had it in that movie. And then their spaceship was underneath the Sphinx, and it was a triangle.
It's kind of crazy. I don't want to go off topic, but I've noticed that certain cultures are more open to the ideas of this teaching. I think it's something that we kind of grew up with. Like in Asian culture, there's a lot of like this spirituality quest, and then same thing with Egyptians. Like there's that they're able to embrace the concept of like the enlightenment, the spirituality, the energy of it.
I felt like ancient Egyptian was more like that,
Yeah.
not current Egyptian.
No. Yeah, not current Egyptian, but I'm talking about like there's still like a presence of that belief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with current, I mean with current societies, like let's say Egypt for example. you're not allowed to dig in certain areas. You're not allowed to discover anything. And if you do discover, you have to run it through them first, and they'll decide if they want it to be public knowledge.
Right.
Now, let's say you came up with something that said that the civilization of Egypt right now was not the one who built the pyramids. Would they want that getting out?
No.
No.
But also, like, the reason why I brought this up is I think, do you believe in certain places geographically where there's higher frequencies operated?
Yeah. And I've experienced it. So I did a trip to Sedona, Arizona. They have the things called the vortexes there. Mount Shasta. There's ley lines. There's certain energy vortexes where those energies are amplified. And it's not till you experience it that it's something changes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But those places are all over the world. I know I haven't been to the ones all over the world, but I felt like that's why I have to leave Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of those books, matter of fact, the Dolores Cannon book, she's doing an interview with somebody, and they're like, and this was in the 70s or 80s. She's doing this hypnosis with this person, and she lives in Las Vegas. And they were like, the subconscious is like, oh, she's getting sick because she has to leave Las Vegas. And they're like, well, why does she have to leave Las Vegas? Oh, because the interference with her frequency is causing her not to be able to do what we need her to do.
Yeah.
And that one spoke to me a little bit. It was just like, oh shoot, maybe I'm like stunning my growth, by being here.
Yeah.
Some people believe that Las Vegas was actually part of Egypt. Like, if you ever been to the Hoover Dam?
Yes.
Did you see the hieroglyphics and stuff that they carved in there when they built the Hoover
I think
Dam?
we talked about this last time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they actually call it the city of Luxor, the city of lights, right? There's a city called the city of Luxor, thousands of years ago, where they don't know where it's at. I think it's in Egypt, but
It could be.
Las Vegas. Why is this in the middle of the desert? Right? Now I came here.
Why is there so many military bases around here?
Right.
Why is there Area 51?
Well,
hiding?
with the Anunnaki, they had they would build the temples. When they build the temples, they had to be built the same exact way, in the same exact place.
Yeah.
And why did they build the pyramid here?
Right.
Why did they build the pyramid in Tennessee? It's a Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
The hell? Why is a Bass Pro Shop shaped like a pyramid? Why is the Luxor built that way? I think we talked about this a little. Okay, so Toth, remember I told you he was part of the Anunnaki. He's the son of Enki, one of the guys that I told you about before. He had a beef with his brother in Egypt.
Okay.
Right? They built the pyramids there. And then they started fighting with each other. So his brother's name is Marduk.
Okay.
In Egypt, they call him Ra. Right? Amen-Ra.
Okay.
So his dad, Enki, one of the creators, said, you know what? You need to go over to Mesoamerica and teach them what we taught them over here. He goes over there as Quetzalcoatl and builds the pyramids there. And the same way.
Wow.
And that's, like I told you, this dude lived for thousands of years. Never said he was a god.
Right.
But like, he would take this information all over the place. So Greece, Egypt, Quetzalcoatl and Mesoamerica. And yeah.
Yeah, there's it's funny because like when we're talking about this, there's so many TV shows that like have these characters named, Raw, and then I remember Raw's story from this series, and I'm just like, this is exactly the story that they were, his story in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's mind blowing, like,
and then just drip fed it back to you.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking mind blowing
through pop culture.
Yeah. Do you think they whoever's, the higher ups or whatever are like trying to hide some information from us?
Well, there's different,
like, for example, like, like how you were saying, with Egypt, like if you find something or whatever, you have to bring it to certain people and they classify if it's legit or not.
Yeah.
Now, is this like, I'm sure
I can see why they would hide it.
Yeah.
Because if they're not the ones that built it, then all of a sudden they're.
But then there's also like, Grand Canyon. Have you heard how there's like, they found there's like tunnels in like ancient city or something inside the canyons, and they found like artifacts and all this stuff, and now you're not allowed to go there.
Yeah. And that's why I believe that this section of the earth was very important. That's why Vegas is in the middle.
Then
of
also here are theories where they switched up a lot of things in the world where it's not actually where it is. For example, how you're saying this might have been Egypt. Well, what if this was Egypt, but they just switched it up on the map to make it like confuse everyone, so everyone doesn't find the truth.
Yeah, don't dig there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You seen like those different carvings and stuff in the Grand Canyon? And you're like, well, now you're not allowed to go down there. As the water receded, now you're not. There's like this big ass head in there, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. But I knew that coming here, there was specific energy that brought me to Las Vegas. Now I sparked that energy, and now it's time for me to move off of it to a different area. And I felt like Arizona was that choice.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like one of the higher frequencies places, like for example, Hawaii. A lot of people say Hawaii have like has like a healing factor to it. So I'm thinking there's some type of frequency, especially with water.
Yeah.
Water does have its own frequency, and it could be a very healing frequency because it's so peaceful. I've heard people going like on their, you know, their final days of like death or whatever, like they have cancer or whatever. They go to Hawaii and it heals them completely, and then they come back and there's no such thing as cancer anymore. I think like other high frequency places like Mountain Picchu. Like
Machu Picchu.
Yeah, Machu Picchu in Peru is very powerful too, because I mean that's where a lot of shamans operate, and you know a lot of. I think certain cultures already prove that there's high frequencies and healing abilities.
Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
Bolivia. There's places in Bolivia, like most of Central America. There's a reason why those they call them ziggurats were built there, and there's a reason why they're there. I guess we'll find out once something happens.
Yeah, but
So, yeah, do you think there's something that's like being hidden from most of society and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They don't want us to know like the exact truth of what was the past or what actually works or whatever.
I think what led me to, because I was into like a bunch of conspiracy theories and stuff along those lines, and once I stopped focusing on the, like I said, the negative, and started trusting the universe and using the universe as my guide, it told me, hey, that shit's not important. It's not important to what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
So it kind of led me away from it. And whenever that happens, it's just like, oh, yeah, cool. I got you. I understand what's going on. And that happened in those books too, because they would ask those questions, like, oh, do you think gray aliens or they're here negatively or stuff like that? And they'd be like, it's not very important for what this person needs to be doing.
Yeah.
I want to touch with witch doctors this time. I want to talk about voodoo and all that other stuff. I don't know how much you know about it. Hopefully you know like way more about it in the future.
I've been diving into witchcraft, but it's once you get away from the positive and negative, it's still just it's still the same thing, dude. It's still manifestation, suggestion,
but with like just spells and shit. Like, how would you say what are spells?
They're tools. So
like affirmations.
Yeah, it's tools. It's honestly with some of that stuff, it's more suggestion.
So is it more like
because I can't manifest your life, I can only manifest my universe. But if I can get you to believe and get you to manifest it, then it'll be true.
Like how you were saying earlier in the podcast, they would tell them you're sleepy, show me your tits when you wake up. Boom, you show you your tits.
I suggested it's more of like a linguistic programming to get you to manifest that particular outcome. Now it's the same thing. I can't manifest it for you, but I can suggest it into your subconscious and get you to think it, and you can manifest it into your universe.
Tactics makes sense.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, it works. I mean, just as well as neuro-linguistic programming works.
Right.
But it's impossible for me to manifest your universe because I'm only the master of my universe.
You have to somehow.
I have to deliver that thought into your universe, and you have to manifest.
So how does a witch doctor or a voodoo witchcraft person or witch do that to somebody without telling them?
When do they do that?
You know what I'm saying? Like casting spells, love potions.
Onto somebody else?
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
you know, like the voodoo doll. Are you familiar?
Yeah, but they're not affecting their universe. They're affecting the vibration in that person's universe. They're just changing the timeline.
Oh, I see.
So it's not that person might not, the specific person in that universe might not be affected the same way. They're only affecting that specific timeline and then changing the timeline to something where that happens. So it's not, I'm not affecting your universe. I'm only affecting mine. Now in my universe, there's a timeline where that does happen.
Right.
And now I just changed that frequency to that timeline. Now I'm not affecting yours. You're still in the same timeline.
Right.
But there is a universe where that did happen.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. You're fucking awesome as always.
Am I?
I always love these podcasts.
Amazing, dude.
I always love talking to you.
Plug yourself here if you'd like.
Prana Prime on TikTok, on Instagram, Sick Days Visuals. I think that's it now. I think I'm going to start doing my own podcast and let you guys start asking me some questions.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll always be back for the homies.
I'm down to take a trip to Arizona when you have it set up. Then go visit Sedona.
Right?
Let's go.
Man, Sedona was life-changing for me.
I hear that from a lot of people, and I haven't been there, but Sedona is one of the places I want
Time
to go.
did not exist there at all.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I meditated for like 14 hours and it was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I hear there's a lot of things in Sedona that just doesn't make sense, but it just feels like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's overpowering if you're not ready for it. But yeah, it was amazing. It was the best trips I've ever took. I want to go to Mount Shasta next because I heard that vortex is just as huge.
Check me out. You see me on the road, I'm in hustle mode, real estate mogul, commercial real estate.